What is up, everybody? My name is Bradford with worshiptutorials.com. Today we have a little bit of a guitar lesson for you here. We are going to be talking about different chord voicings you can use for the key of D. I think this is really great to share with you guys because you get to keep your hands still a little longer, the chords sound really good, and I just think it's more ergonomic when you're playing a longer set or a longer song, whatever the case may be. But also, these are just kind of voicings that I've kind of developed that I think other people kind of use. My ear kind of picked up. I kind of decided it felt better, and come to find out after research over the years that they're actually accurate. And you know what? They sound great. So we're going to show them with you today. This will be a short video getting to the point, and that way you can find some chords to use in the key of D to spice things up. So normally in the key of D, you're going to see most of the time similar chords. We don't use all of the chords, but typically it's D, E minor, and then every once in a while you'll hear an F sharp minor. And then there's a G, of course, an A B minor, and then really after that there's the C sharp. It depends on where you're at, but that's not used very often. But that is what you play. If you ask me, that gets a little tiring. So I've kind of simplified some things, and I'm going to play some chord voicings. Not a particular chord progression, but a good example would be like in the song Oceans. That key's in D. There's a tutorial on that. You should check that out as well. But here's some different voicings you can do. When you're doing a D, I like to keep it really simple. I do not use the E string. I don't fret that at all. So what I do is on my G string I fret the 2nd fret, and then the B string I fret the 3rd fret. That's my D, of course keeping this E muted. That's my D. Sounds really nice and open, really simple. I feel like the more duplicated notes you have in a chord, the fatter it's going to sound. When you start adding multiple different notes, while they are in fact accurate and that is how you build a chord, I think it just gets a little muddy, and I really like to keep it simple. So that's my D. In order to do an A, it's really more of an A sus, an A suspended kind of shape. In any key you play, your 5 chord, in this case the A, you can suspend. And so what I do here is one of two things. Either just scoot this first finger of mine from the G string to go right up on the 2nd fret still to the D string, and I'll scoot my 2nd finger, 2nd fret onto the G string. That's your A suspended of sorts, but in this sense it actually sounds really good. Or just using your 1st finger and barring right there, that's my A. Sounds really good, really simple, goes really well. Now coming out of this, of course, depends on the song, but what I like to do for my B minor is let's keep the similar D shape that I first showed you right here, except I'm going to use my 2nd and 3rd finger to do that. And I'm going to use my 1st finger to go onto the B note on my A string. So that's going to be your 2nd fret. That's my B minor. Really simple, a lot easier than this if you ask me. Sounds really good too. That's just a B minor like that. Then every once in a while you're going to have like a walk up of sorts from your E minor. Maybe you're going to go walk down from the G. But a D over F sharp is a really good chord as well. What I'm doing here is I'm going to go back to that D shape I showed you, and I'm going to use my thumb and wrap around on the 2nd fret on the E string. That is a D over F sharp. Sounds really good going into a G chord, and that's actually what I'm going to show you next. As you saw how simple that went. So what I did with that was I kept that D over F sharp shape, kept my 1st and 3rd finger in the spots that they were, and I used my 2nd finger to hit that G on my E string. Like that. Sounds really good, really simple. Depends on the song, obviously. So next I'm going to show you how to do an E minor chord. Sounds really good. Looks really technical, sounds really fancy, really easy chord. I'm going to show you how this is too. Sometimes if you add a little bit there, that'd be an F sharp on the E string. That sounds really good. But what we're going to do here is, you know how to do an E minor like this. Sounds great, but it sounds to me, it doesn't sound as musical. It sounds a little more singer-songwriter, like it sounds like a Johnny Cash chord, which is great. But when I'm playing worship, I want something with a little more life to it. So what I like to do is I'll put my 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the A string. I'll put my 4th finger on the 4th fret of the D string, and kind of the common theme you've been seeing here is it may change what finger it is, but I'm always getting that D note on my B string, which is on the 3rd fret. So that's what I got right here. And so combined it's just like that. Sounds so good, really simple, really great from going to that, to the D over F sharp, to the G. Really sweet sounding chord. And these chords are really simple, and they do a lot when you're working with walk-ups, or like I said, if you're the only person playing the song with an acoustic set, doing this kind of stuff adds so much, as opposed to just doing really plain chords. They sound good in certain styles, but I really feel like these are simpler chords. They make for a greater sound, and they allow you just to keep your hands a little more still and not have to be switching all around on the fretboard, which can get tiresome. So last thing I'm going to talk about here, and I'm going to go back to a G real quick, but that's because this G is a great way to end a song, which is why we're ending today's tutorial with it. It's a great way to end. If you end on the 4, anytime you end on the 4 in your set, or on that particular song, a great way to end is with a major 7 of that 4. So in the key of D, it is a G. So what I like to do is I like to fret the B string on the 3rd fret, which that's your D note. And then of course, we're gonna use our 2nd finger to get that G on the E string, so we do that. But instead of, as I was showing you guys earlier, instead of doing the 2nd fret of the G string to get this, instead I like to take that 1st finger, I like to put it on the F sharp on the high E string. So that's on the 2nd fret. I like to end like this. Gives it a great little sparkle, great little sound, a lot different, and it sounds really great if your whole band's doing it, but even then, it's not gonna stick out to the point where it's gonna throw anything off. It sounds really good. So quick demonstration, all the chords together. I'm gonna end on this G major 7, and you're gonna see what I mean. Third Day's old song, such a great song, a classic, Show Me Your Glory, ends on this chord. It sounds so good. I highly recommend you going to listen to that, and that whole album even. But here we go. To the D over F sharp, to the A, to the B minor, to the E minor, and then to the G major 7. Why don't you head over to Worship Tutorials and check out all the resources we have available. And we're going to have a chart up of some of these chord voicings so you can start implementing them into your worship sets, into any song you do. Thanks for hanging out with us today, guys. We'll see you next time.